Hi, Ed Diaz here. In today's video, we're going to learn how to utilize the pad sampler inside the Roland Phantom. All right, let's get started. So inside the Phantom, we have access to a lot of great samplers in here. So we're going to take a look at how to utilize the pad sampler inside the Phantom. So first off, let's go ahead and learn how to get into it. So if I press sampling, right away it's asking me, if I want to sample. Well, we're not there yet. That's not where we're going to go yet. So we're going to actually go pad mode, and we're going to make sure it's in sample pad. We're going to make sure it's in that mode, and we're going to press enter and say yes. All right, now to get inside to the pad sampler so we can make edits, export, import samples, here's how we do it. Press and hold shift and press sampling. Now, as you can see, we're in the pad sampler, and inside this section we have 4 banks, and each bank can hold up to 16 samples. Now remember, in a previous video we talked about thinking about this sampler as like a independent 404 sampler that's independent from the scenes or the multi-sampling or the drum samples or single samples that the Phantom normally does. So this is a perfect section to put backing tracks. Perfect for backing track. So I'm going to take a sample here, and let's go ahead and take this one here. And I'm going to go ahead and clear that one out. So I'm going to say, all right, I want to get rid of that one right there. So I'm going to go into sample utility right here, and I am going to delete it. I'm going to go ahead and delete it. And while I'm at it, I'll go ahead and delete this one as well. Let's go ahead and delete that one as well. So we have something to work with. All right, so I'm going to use this sample spot in bank 4 and sample 1. All right, now I'm going to go in and go to either sampling, which in this section, this is good if you want to create a sample from scratch, utilizing playing the keyboard and or the inputs of the Phantom. So this, we're going to do that in another video, but on this one, I want to talk about, let's go back in, shift, sampling. I want to import something directly to the pad. So I'm going to go to import. Currently, my USB memory is not ready, so let's exit one time, and I'm going to insert the USB memory now. All right, now my USB memory is ready. Let's go ahead again, shift, sampling. Now we're in here, and I'm going to press import. All right, so now it's looking inside my memory here, and I have a couple different things I can do. Now, one thing about this pad sampler, each pad can have up to 60 minutes in length of a sample, all the way up to 2 gigs total max for this section. That's a lot of samples. That's a lot of time, especially when you consider 1 minute of stereo audio at 16-bit is 10 megabytes. So 2,000, you got a lot of time there. So I'm going to go ahead. Let's do something easy now. I'm going to say, you know what? Let's go ahead and import this song that I sequenced from the Phantom, and I exported it out earlier, but now it's an actual WAV file. So I'm going to press the import button. But before I do that, let's press preview. Let's go ahead, and I can adjust the preview level. So let me just watch this level. Press and hold preview. So this is what I'm bringing in. This is great. So it's there. Let's do auto import. Let's take a look. And we can bring in the sample that way, or we can press import this way. And execute. So one extra button. If I were to go auto import, yeah, and that's where I'm putting in here. Just one less step. So it's bringing this sample in here. And notice that this particular sample, I think you can see it, is almost 120 megabytes. Okay, so it's a pretty long sample. So it's probably closer to about 10 or 11 minutes in here. So we're going to let this bring it in here, and then we're going to see how it lays in the pad. All right, we're just about done here. So just bringing in that long sample, and you see there it's a WAV file. And remember, the sample pad section can bring in WAV and aiff, 16-bit, 44.1 or 48K. So that's in there. So now this sample is in here, and I'll press the pad. There it is. And if I wanted to do some editing with it, I can press WAV edit. And if I needed to, there is a visual representation. One of the things that I usually do with the samples, just to make sure everything is working together and the samples are at a similar volume or similar level, is I'll go into sample utility and I will do a normalize. This one's probably already normalized, so we're not going to do it, but this is what I would normally do, normalize it. So make sure that all the samples that live within the sample pad area are at a similar volume. So I would normalize them right away. Truncate, and we'll probably do that a little bit. If I wanted to go ahead and do a little bit of editing on this, and say I went ahead and adjusted the start point or the end point of the sample, this section of the sample where there's waste, that's just taking up space. So at that point, I would go into sample utility and I would truncate it. That's what I would do there. Obviously, delete makes sense. I can export this as a wave to my thumb drive if I want to. And we would do that if we did some sampling directly to here and now we were ready to have it going. Okay, so we don't need to do that. I'm going to go ahead and adjust these endpoints and ending points, and I think we're ready. Notice we can also adjust the particular volume of this if we wanted to. This is after normalization. You can adjust that. So that's cool. So we have that one there, and it is already saved into that sample pad section of the Phantom. Notice I didn't have to press save at all. All right, let's go ahead and use another one. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to override a sample now. So I'm going to take this analog blip, and I have it selected, and I'm going to put another sample over it. So I'm going to import. I'm going to choose the mp3 because that was an update that we did where the Phantom will not only support WAV and aiff, but it will also support the playback of mp3s only inside this particular sample section, not in the regular, not in the other sections of the sampler, but this particular 404 type sampler, it will support MP3. So I'm going to bring in a song from one of my good buddies, guitar player, Nick Garcia. I'm going to bring this in here, import, and I'm going to execute, and I am going to overwrite the sample that's there. All right, so let's go ahead and OK. And here we go. It's importing now. Now, one of the benefits of having the ability to bring in MP3s versus WAV or aiff is that those MP3s are usually smaller in file size. So therefore, we could actually put a good amount of time over here. So especially since we're going to come way under the 2 gig limit inside the sample section. So now let's take a look. Once there it is right there, let's go ahead and hit the pad. There is the pad right there, so we have it going. And let's go ahead. I noticed there was a count in. Maybe we don't want that counting. So let's do a little bit of editing to it. So I'm going to go into Wave Edit. And you can see right here, I'm going to kind of come in. If I needed to zoom out or zoom in, I could do it this way. So here I can zoom out or I can zoom in. I really want to get down in there. And let's do a preview. There we go, because I don't necessarily need to hear the click, or maybe I do. So let's zoom in a little bit more if we wanted to on the horizontal. If I wanted to on the vertical, I can expand it a little bit more so I can see. Yeah, now we're getting down to the really deep waveform area. So if you want to get this precise in your editing, you totally can. So now that is good. And notice now that I have, let's go ahead and zoom back in. Now I have some waste here. So now I would go into sample utility and I would truncate, and that's going to cut off that little bit of waste of sample that I'm not going to use. So just let that work. There we go. Now, when you do normalization or truncate, it might take a little bit longer depending on the length of the sample. So just keep that in mind and just be patient when you're editing samples. Okay, so now that sample is in there, let's go ahead and press the pad number 2. And if that sample is a little bit loud, we didn't do normalize. Let's go ahead and do normalize. I'll do normalization, and here we go. Normalize that sample, and let's see if it adjusts that volume. because we want to use normalize so we can have all of our different samples at a similar volume and that we can work with. Now, if we need to do some more volume adjustments, we can do that within the sample inside here in the wave edit. All right, so now that the song has been normalized, let's give it a listen and see if we need to adjust the volume. All right, so let's press pad number 2. Still a little bit hot. Let's hear pad number 1. So if pad number 2, the song I imported, the mp3, is still a little bit hot in my ears, all I have to do to edit it is press pad 2, which selects it inside my wave edit. And now I'll just go in and adjust my level. So I'm going to put that one at maybe 90 and see what we have. Great, a nicer volume that I can deal with. So let's go ahead and exit. And now those pads are set with those particular waveform in number 1 and an mp3 file number 2. And notice I didn't have to press right. It's already inside the sample pad area where that stuff is saved. I didn't have to press right. It's already set. So as you can see, importing WAV, aiff, and mp3 files inside the Roland FANTOM sample pad section is very easy. Give this a shot, and we'll talk to you later.